Well, it's always exciting when it's game week, especially when it's the first one of the year. I think that we have our team in general. Obviously, our entire organization is excited for the ball game. It goes without saying, anytime you open up a new stadium, as we are with Husky Stadium, it's exciting for our fans. I think we're expecting a sellout for this game, which is great. I heard the number already coming in is over 300 boats for the harbor, which is what makes this place so unique. Everything we're hearing from the dog pack is that everybody's coming back early. They want to be part of this, so it makes for a special night. I think that our staff and our players have done a really nice job of dealing with the move-in, because anytime there's move-in, there's natural distractions. I think that they've all handled them really well. I thought this morning's practice was very focused, energized, detail-oriented. I think the team's hungry to go play, and that's a great place to be in. We know this is a tremendous opponent in Boise. They'll come in prepared, ready to go. I'm sure their fans are trying to get every seat they can get a hold of to get into the game, and it should be a tremendous environment for the opening weekend of college football.
Questions?
Steve, how much does this Boise State team change from the one that you saw in the baseball last year?
Well, I'll probably better answer it after the game, as whatever changes they made. But they've lost some guys naturally, but they have a lot of their returners back, especially the quarterback in Southwick. The wide receiving core is a very veteran group. The running back, a couple of the key components to the defense, the two safeties who are really nice players, a couple of the defensive linemen. And then what Coach Peterson has always done is played a lot of players. So even though some of these guys weren't starters a year ago, they played quite a bit of football. So I think they'll look and feel like the traditional Boise State team. I'm sure they're going to have new wrinkles for us when the ball game rolls around, and that's our job to try to figure out as the game moves on.
Is it hard to get over for your players all the pomp and circumstance and focus on football?
I think our guys have been awesome, and you'll have to ask them, when they get in here. I think that they've been great in dealing with the potential distractions. I think they've been really focused. Football's priority number one. We're obviously humbled and honored that we've been able to move into a new facility and a new stadium, but I think that their focus has been tremendous. I couldn't be prouder of them, quite honestly. I mean, they've handled it extremely well. I think we're taking advantage of some of the amenities that we have at our disposal now, and some of the functionality, but that hasn't become a distraction at all. And I think that they understand, and I've touched on this before with you guys, the stadium's awesome, and the stadium's great, and the new Jumbotron and the lights and the wrapping and all of everything that's going to be with it. What's really going to make the play special is how we play and the product that we put on the field, and our guys understand that. I think that's what makes them even more so excited about Saturday night, is that they finally get to go play again. It's been a lot of 9 months it's been a 9 months with a lot of question marks and a lot of, well, who is this team? Are they mentally tough? Can they handle being in tight games against good teams? Are they consistent enough? And I think that's really put a chip on their shoulder, and I think that they're eager to go out and prove that they can be that team.
What was the process of deciding that Boise was the team you wanted for the first game in here?
We were just trying to get a quality opponent for our fans, and we went around the country and looked at some really good programs. Boise happened to be one of those programs one that has been consistent and relevant in recent years, and they obviously were eager and wanted the opportunity to come play in this place at that game, and some other schools were as well, and some others weren't, and then we had to make a decision, and we just felt like with the Northwest ties, with the proximity of the fan base, we didn't know we were going to be playing them in the Vegas Bowl the year before at the time. So it just, it worked out the way it did, and I think it's a really quality opponent for us and for them, and it's a great way to kick off the season.
What advantages to you or peculiarities are there to opening the season just based on the last week?
I think that, you know some of their personnel, some of the players they have on their roster, some of the tendencies of their play callers, whether it's offense or defense. The disadvantages are they know the same things about us, and so you try not to overthink things. You try to stay disciplined in what you do, and stay attentive to the details so that you can perform at a high level. I think this is probably more likened to what the NFL deals with, when they play two division rivals every year and sometimes a third time in the playoffs. And so you try to stick to your guns and what you do well, focus on the things that you do well, and try to eliminate some of the things that they do well and force their hand to do some different things.
And philosophically, do you even schedule in an opener coming spring, summer, or you just wait and leave that until
We waited till the third week of training camp. We focused on ourselves, and we needed to. There was a lot of things within our own system that we needed to focus on. We waited till a week ago at this time, and I think it was a good week because there were a lot of wrinkles that needed to be ironed out after Saturday's scrimmage. The coaches, I thought, did a nice job of focusing on those things. We came out this morning in a very detailed practice and fixed a lot of them. We weren't perfect yet, but that's what this week's all about, to get to a point to where our guys are ready for the performance. And that's what we've been talking about. We are in preparation for a performance on Saturday night. That is one that is electric, and one that our fans and college football can say, wow, that was a great performance. Now we know that Boise's doing the same thing, and so when those two performances clash, hopefully we can out execute their ability to execute, and we know that they do that at a high level, and that's what makes the game, and that's why we play it.
Sark, is this important, especially on defense, given the fact that this is going to be an electric environment and everything, to try to recreate as much of what you anticipate as possible?
We try to make practice as chaotic as possible, and that's forever since I've been here, and then as much now as ever before. We try to make it as chaotic as possible with the crowd noise, with the tempo, with the substitutions, with the physicality, so that game days can be a little bit more calm in their own mind, and that's for every position on the board. And so our defense is no different. Hopefully when they get out there, they can handle the setting. I think they will. I think that we've put them in a lot of extreme circumstances, and they've gotten better at responding to those extreme circumstances, and the crowd noise will be an issue, and we need to communicate really well defensively to make sure we have our gap integrity, to make sure that our coverage schemes are in the right spot and we're making the right calls, and not be surprised by that. And I don't think we will be. We've been working on crowd noise with our defense since the start of training camp.
So why don't you swap Henke and Reba back?
Just felt right, something that, for me, in putting Ben there early on was, one, could he do it? Two, if something happened to Micah, can he go play over there? And I think we realize he can do it. I think we're better served right now with the experience that Micah has as playing left tackle. But now we know we have a really good backup left tackle, and we could supplement it right tackle with a James Atoe or potentially even a Dexter Charles over there. So I just felt better about our rotation the way it is. And I think Micah's confidence has spending a year playing left tackle against some really good rushers will be beneficial for us.
Sark, how does it feel just going into this opener compared to other years? Because it just seems like everything since you've been here has kind of been geared towards building the program, getting the new stadium, getting depth, and you're not going to have to play as many pure freshmen. How does this year feel different going into Boise State?
I like our depth. I mean, our depth this year is night and day compared to where we've ever been, whether that's on offense, defense, or special teams. I like the maturity of this team. I think one thing that I've been impressed with, and I told the guys this, is when I've asked them to do something, they respond to it. It's not like I have to go out and pull teeth. When I've asked for more energy, I've gotten it. When I've asked for more physicality, I've gotten it. When I've asked our guys to stay off the ground, I've gotten it. When I've asked them to eliminate the distractions and focus with laser focus on the task at hand, I've gotten it. And that's what's really feels so different to me. And the leaders have helped the younger players understand that aspect of it. And so I've been impressed by that.
There's going to obviously be a lot of pressure on Keith his final year. What have you seen out of him?
Well, I think you guys want to put pressure on him. I don't know if he necessarily puts pressure on himself, and I don't think we have either. I think he's going to go out and play really good football. I think that nothing I've seen over the last, through spring ball and through training camp appears to me a guy playing under pressure. I think there's the natural butterflies we all get when we go to perform, and if you don't get them, then check your pulse. That's we're going to come down that tunnel Saturday night at 7 o'clock for a 7:06 kickoff, and we're going to have 100 guys with that little nervous anxiety, but that's part of being a competitor. I think the one thing for Keith is to quiet things down around him, focus on his job, and play the football that he's capable of playing. And when he does, he'll be great, and that's what I expect him to be.
Steve, is Austin's position on the depth chart an indication that he's healthy enough to start, or he is expected to play?
He's not cleared to play at all. This, if you guys read it properly, is a post-training camp depth chart. He was limited this morning's practice, so he's not been cleared to play physically as of yet at all.
Is there a plan for Deontay to with everything he's gone through, kind of maybe have like a little moment for him in the beginning of the game, maybe?
We're playing to win the game, period. The special moments and the things that come along with winning football games, those things come naturally. You know, I think we're all very proud of Deontay, of what he's accomplished to get to this point, and Jesse, and Holy, and Colin Tanagawa, and Lawrence Lagafuena, that they've worked their way back to get to this point. When Deontay gets his first carry, you know, our team isn't going to give him a standing ovation. They're watching him carry the ball every day in practice. They want to see him break a tackle and keep the ball high and tight and try to score a touchdown and then get up and do it again. And that's just the mentality that we've embraced with all of these guys. I'll give him a big old high five when he comes off because I know how hard he worked. But, you know, I'll leave the ceremonies up to our marketing department for the coin toss and all that kind of stuff.
Steve, going back to Austin for a second, if he is cleared to play, will he play?
Come on, dude. Were you at my preseason press conference?
Yeah.
What did I say?
You said you weren't going to talk about this player.
Awesome. Next one.
How does it feel that overall, you said there's a couple players you were not going to play Kohler. How does it feel overall to kind of have most of the team healthy?
Feels great. This is the healthiest we've ever been, you know, as compared to where we were a year ago at this time. This team is healthy, they're energized, they're fresh, and we've had a physical camp. I think it's a real credit to Ivan Lewis and our strength and conditioning department of what they were able to get done in summer to prep us. We tweaked our schedule a little bit in the summer. We tweaked ourselves a little bit early on in training camp to get them ready for the grind of the season, and I felt like we've really tried to ramp up and build our roster and get stronger as training camp has gone through, and we've done it. It's unfortunate. We have 3 broken bones on our roster right now. When you talk about Austin, you talk about Patrick Inawali, and obviously Eric Kohler, who we haven't had in all of training camp. And bones are bones. You know, it's not like a bruise. It's not something that you can fix even quicker. It takes time to heal. That's withstood the test of time. So, but everywhere else, I mean, I think our medical staff has done a great job. If we've gotten an ankle injury, if we've had a hamstring, if we've had a sore shoulder, of getting guys back healthy. And they looked sharp and crisp today and flying around and playing physical, fast football, which is where you want to be leading up to a game. And you don't want to have guys limping around on the field.
So your offense has evolved quite a bit over the past 4 or 5 years. Just what are some of the reasons and
Right.
why you kind of tinker and change a lot of things that you want to do?
Right. Well, I've always tried to tailor our offense to the personnel that we have. And what was unique to me, Jerry, when I first got here, I was a dead set, pro-style, under center offensive coordinator. When we got here, I inherited a freak at quarterback in Jake Locker. And, you know, when you're 6'3", 230, and you're running 4.4, I would have been a fool not to incorporate some of the quarterback run principles, some of the zone read principles at that time. The next year we go to play, we don't have a tight end on our roster, so we had to tweak it with our 3 wide packages with a fullback and different things to fit that system. The next year we got a little bit more back to the pro style approach. Keith scrambled around some, but there wasn't as much zone read because of Curse and Aguilar, and then the implementation of Austin and Harvickson back that year and the way Chris ran the football. Last year we got back to a little bit more of some of the spread principles as well as some of the pro style stuff because of the depth and the John Amosa really emerging at the fullback spot and all those things. So every year you evolve to try to fit the personnel that you have on your roster and give your team the best chance to be successful. So that's part of the reason why we went to some of the up-tempo stuff this year, is because I feel like it fits our personnel, especially the quarterback, to put him in the best position to be successful. And so you know, we haven't changed systems. We've tweaked things to fit what I think best fits the roster that we have in place.
Steve, the move from tight end to defensive tackle, I mean, offense. How much has that kind of surprised you, and how much do you expect out of him Saturday?
Oh, he's going to play quite a bit. Evan will play quite a bit. He's had a great camp. I think that he really embraced the move. I try not to place expectations. This is what needs to happen for this to happen or that to happen. I really try to allow things to go as they flow, and then look at it with an open mind and say this feels right or this doesn't feel right. And I thought Evan embraced it. I thought our defensive coaches did a really good job. Coach Lupoy, Coach Wilcox, of throwing him into the fire, teaching him the principles, throwing him in the fire so we could gather as much information as we could. And he's just got that hard-nosed, blue-collar mentality. He's got the length naturally, and he's helped us. I think you'll still see him some implemented in a few packages on the offensive side of the ball. He was banging on me again about it today, making sure that we have enough in the game plan for him on offense too. But he's got the right mentality to do it.
And then Josh Sherwood, where's he at?
Josh, as we know, is a very good pass rusher. It's a really competitive position right now with Kikaha coming back, formerly known as Jamora, with him back on the roster, with what Corey Littleton's doing, and now Josh Shirley. So when you talk about just depth on this team, there's a prime example of the rush position with three guys who have all started and played significant football for us, and that's the luxury that we're talking about. We can play and roll a lot of guys and be effective. So I think Josh will have a role. I think he's going to make some impact plays for us this fall. How it all plays out remains to be seen.
Getting back to the offense, it's kind of a pack of trends, get up tempo, kind of fast. Does that maybe help your defense as well? Seeing it in practice and kind of being a little more prepared for the more teams that are trying to do that?
Sure. I think our defense is getting exposed to quite a bit. We've even put a few plays in here in training camp that we probably won't run in season, but we know our defense is going to see. So we put them in to get them exposed to it. And it's been challenging on them, but I think they've really improved at defending the up-tempo, which was a key component for us coming into training camp. If you asked me 4 or 5 things that we needed to get better at, that was one of them, if not the top one, was our ability to defend the up-tempo spread teams, not only schematically, but from a physical standpoint. And I think we've addressed it really well. If Boise comes out and goes up tempo Saturday night, I feel much better today defending that style of offense than I did 9 months ago.
What type of challenges is playing faster put on your offensive line?
Communicating quickly. They have to decipher and they have to gather their information and then make decisions and then communicate with one another in a quickly manner, because the quarterback, you're going to see that hand, we want to go. Well, we can't go until everybody knows what to do. And so we talked quite a bit early on about when you get behind the wheel of a Ferrari, you only can drive it as fast as you can handle it. And it starts with the quarterback, and he's got to make sure all the parts are in line so that he can handle that vehicle so that it can go as fast as it can go. And it starts up front with the O-line. Their ability to communicate is critical.
You talked about not wanting to set expectations. A guy like John Ross, who's already proven he can do a lot of different things, batting in the backfield a little bit already. Is there some hesitation maybe not to put too much on his plate too early here?
Well, yeah, I'll monitor that closely throughout the game. Everybody responds differently the first time you're in that environment. These guys haven't played in front of 70,000 people before. But some guys will respond better. Some guys it might take a little bit longer. That's what we have to figure out as a staff as we get going, how they respond to the moment. I'll watch them in pregame warm-ups. I'll look for all those things. Who's the guy that all of a sudden is now wearing 10 wristbands in the locker room when he didn't wear any throughout training camp? Right then is a red light indicator for me. He's distracted, right? So I want to see the guys that can keep their same routine, whether it's from practice to game day. If you wear 10 wristbands every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, go ahead and wear 10 of them on Saturday. But if you don't be that guy. And so Deontay Cooper's going to take the field and he's going to look sweet. He's going to have tights on and wristbands and all that stuff, and that's how he is. Our other guys that don't wear gloves and wristbands, I'm expecting to see them to look the same that they look on Tuesday, Wednesday. So it starts there. It goes through pregame. It goes right into the first couple series and plays and all those things. And then we'll try to focus on the guys that are handling the moment well. The guys that aren't, not that I'm totally discounting them, we just know that we have to bring them on a little bit slower.
Are you confident that John Ross is the type of freshman that can handle it?
I feel good. We put him in as many tough situations as we could. I can't recreate 70,000 people. You know, that's the part that I can't do. We've done everything from the hotel, the uniforms, to the dog walk, to pregame warm-ups, to putting him back there on punts with live punt coverage, to all those things. But until he actually has to do it, you know, we'll see. But I feel good about it. He's got a great demeanor about himself.
Just one thing you mentioned, some first-year guys that we should expect to see the field. It was Kevin King, Marcus Faria, John Ross, of course, Kevin King. Any other freshmen?
I think Trevor Walker will see the field for us at safety. I think you'll see Damari Stringfellow. I think you'll see Darrell Daniels some. When and how much, every guy varies, every guy's different. You know, I just know gradually as we move forward, some guys that may not play a whole bunch this first week, we feel like because of the growth that they've put in here over the last 3 weeks, they're going to help us in October and November. So we're going to bring some guys on, along a little slower. Other guys will get thrown in a little bit quicker, but I think those guys have a legitimate chance to really contribute for us.
Defending up tempo in a game is hard enough for a defensive coordinator or the defensive side without your own team doing it. But now that you guys do it 100%, what was Justin's reaction when you first broached the topic with him?
He thought it was a great idea, and it was how it was going to happen, how we would practice is key. You know, how many reps you get, when those reps occur, ones versus ones, ones versus twos, when are the threes going. So there was a lot of gymnastics, not just in implementing the offense, how we were going to practice at this tempo and then still be fresh come game day. And I think it's a real credit to our staff. The guys, we really took our time and tried to be diligent in doing this, and not just, hey, we're going no huddle and here's the same practice plan. We've adjusted some things. We've shifted some things. We've incorporated walkthroughs in the middle of practice, and it's been great. You know, I think that it's gone really, really well for us.
Has the no huddle been particularly conducive to Keith's strengths, do you think?
I sure think so. Again, Saturday will tell me, and throughout the season will tell me. But he's been very efficient. He was efficient this past Saturday. He makes good decisions. I've always said Keith, I've always thought of him almost like a point guard in basketball. He has a really unique ability to distribute the football, to see things and feel things that are going on around him, and he's actually a very good basketball player. On top of that, and I think this system forces you to do that, because you can't look at everything and take in all the information and then push enter and get a result. You have to be able to take things in as they come, and then know where to go with the football and do it quickly. And so those types of things I think are helpful for Keith, and his ability, he has such quick hands to make great decisions with the ball. It's been helpful for him.
Could you run this offense a couple years ago, or is it more suited to a guy who's seen more around?
I think this suits him a little bit better. If you remember in the Baylor game, we used a little bit of it there, especially early on, to try to force the tempo in that game, and Keith was pretty effective in it, but that was at the end of his first year as a starter. You know, I think if, knock on wood, if something happened to Keith and Siler came in the game to play, Siler would be fine operating in it, because he's just been doing it the same amount of time Keith has been doing it. So, you know, I think that when you make that initial transition to it, you need time. It's not something that you can do mid-season when you only have 20 hours that week to get it done. I think you have to make a wholesale change to do it. And that was one of the challenges for us last year. We knew we were better in a no-huddle setting. We just didn't have enough offense when we were in it. And so it was a fine line of how much we were practicing that, as well as our traditional offense. And so that's what made the decision so much easier after the season to go wholesale to it.
Sir, can you talk a little bit about how the up-tempo fits the strengths of the rest of the offense outside of Keith?
Well, I think with our athletes, it gets the ball in their hands in space to create plays. I think we have an athletic offensive line that does a nice job of getting to the second level and getting on linebackers. And I think we have enough running backs to where with the increase in plays comes the increase in carries. Not all those carries necessarily have to go to Bishop, Dwayne Washington, Deontay Cooper, Jesse Collier. All of those guys would carry the ball as well.
We've had a lot of success with the up-tempo, and a lot of that success has been because of the depth of the offensive line. How does your depth in the line stack up to be able to maintain pressure?
Well, I feel good about it. Obviously, with some of the experience of James Atoe, Shane Brostick, we have a couple younger players I think are on the verge of doing something pretty special here, and Jake Eldrenkamp and Coleman Shelton. And then when we get Eric Kohler back, I think we have 10 guys that I feel good about. Sifa Tafunga is another guy who I think could go in and contribute. So I feel great about that group. I feel better about our O-line this year than arguably any of our years. I mean, there was the one year years that we brought all those guys back. Is that second year, I think. I'm not, if I'm not mistaken, but when there was a lot of guys coming back and there was a lot of continuity. But I feel as good or better about this year's unit than I have. And I think part of that's getting Colin Tanagawa back. I think he's a real presence. I think it's the maturity of Micah Hatchie, the maturity of Dexter Charles, the maturity of Mike Chris, the maturity of Ben Riva. I mean, these guys got invaluable experience last season that set them up for an off season of, okay, this is what I have to expect next fall when I come back. So this is what I need to work on physically. This is what I need to work on mentally. And then this is what we need to work on as a group to be so cohesive, to be so close, to know every nuance of the plays and working together. And it's a tight-knit group. And I feel great about what they're going to do. I'm excited for them because I think, you know, as much as we try to quiet the noise around them, I'm sure they hear of, well, the O-line last year, the O-line last year, the O-line last year. So again, another big chip on their shoulder to come out and perform and show that what they're capable of doing as well.
Let's wrap it up with Todd here, please.
In 2011, you had about 6 receivers packed between like 35 catches and 50 catches.
Right.
And last year, you just had the heavy
Right.
reliance on Case and Austin. Whose responsibility is that mainly in order to spread the ball around and make all those guys effective?
Well, I think ultimately it's mine and then the quarterbacks. And we, you know, not a secret to anybody, we really forced the issue last year with Kaysen and Austin and trying to get them the football. We felt better about those two that much, you know, in such a drastic difference compared to the rest of the guys on the roster. That's where the ball was going. It wasn't a secret to anybody. It wasn't a secret to our opponents. I think that this year you're going to see much more distribution of the football and the ball going in places that where the read takes people and not so much forcing the issue. And again, that's because of what these guys have done in training camp. Kevin Smith has had just a phenomenal training camp for us. Jadon Mickens, a very good training camp. John Ross, we've touched on him quite a few times. DeAndre Campbell, DeMarais Stringfellow, Josh Perkins, so, and then the running back situation. So I just think that the ball is going to have a lot more opportunities to get spread around, which in turn should make us a harder offense to defend and also allow Kaysen and Austin more opportunities to create big plays when they're not getting forced into so many double coverage type scenarios and when they're getting the ball thrown their way in one-on-one settings, and that's when they're at their best because they're hard to defend when it's one-on-one.
All right, folks, I see all 6 captains are back there, so we'll